How you doing, guys? This is a video I'd wanted to do for a while, and it's on the concept of bugging out. And you guys have probably seen my bug out bag video, so you know I have a bug out bag that I'm constructing in like a modular sense, and I'm not 100% done with that yet. And I'll make a video on that when I am. But I wanted to do it on the concept of bugging out that I see all over the place. And when I first started getting into prepping and everything, and you hear the bug out bag and everything, I understood it on level that, you know, sometimes you'd have to leave your house and you'd have to go somewhere, whether that's, you know, just leave for a variety of reasons, and that seemed legit to me. But what I didn't initially understand, and what I've learned since, is that there's a lot of people who, to them, bugging out, not only is it their primary plan, it just means to go out, to leave where you are and survive in the wilderness, and without any specific destination in mind. I mean, they may have like a specific patch of national forest or something, but they're not going to like another location. They aren't going to like a hideout that they have somewhere, like a building or a farm or anything like that. They're just leaving. And in most cases, it's an absolutely horrible idea. It's probably the worst thing you could do. The bottom line is, if it was better to live out in the woods and to be at your house or where you live right now, then you would be there. The fact is, it's not better. And you shouldn't leave until it would be a better idea. And it would take a lot for it to be a better idea to try to live in the woods out of a backpack than it would be to just try and stay where you are, where you have all your supplies, you have all your preparations, just having a roof over your head. And so that should always be your primary plan, with the exception of the people who have like a retreat style location and they just can't move there because of maybe their job or their family or something. But that brings up another point that I wanted to get to. A lot of the problem with these bug out plans, specifically the ones that are just to run out and live in the woods, but even the ones that are to go to like your secondary location, even when it is a real location, the problem with these plans is it relies on the shit hit the fan being like a singular event, which it almost never is. I mean, think of all the catastrophic periods in history. It's very rare, with the exception of like Hiroshima or something like that, you know, or like an attack or something similar, an invasion, that there's like a singular event. Like, even look at like Nazi Germany. When would you have chosen to bug out? I mean, it's easy to do it in hindsight, easier, but it's still difficult to pinpoint an exact time. If you had done it when it makes sense to us now looking back, it would have seemed incredibly early at the time, like it would have seemed like nothing was wrong. Same with something like the Great Depression. If it got to the Great Depression kind of scenario and there was like a crash, when would you go? When the stock market crashed? You know, most people still had their jobs for weeks or months after that. I mean, the day of the crash, nothing really happened to normal people unless you were like a stockbroker. If you worked at like a factory or something, they didn't just run out there and lay everybody off. And even if they did, you know, the world isn't collapsing. Do you try to find another job? Or do you run off to your retreat location with no money to buy food for the next, you know, these things could last years even. So I don't necessarily like the idea of having to leave as being your primary plan. So you need to think really long and hard about your situation if that's something that you're really relying on. And certainly, please don't be the people who are just going to run off into the woods and think you're going to survive, because even if you can do it, it just doesn't make any sense to do that unless you have to leave. So think of the things that would make you leave your house, and there's not that many of them, and they don't happen very often, even in like a historical standpoint, but they do happen. So it's important to be ready for it, but look at it realistically, prepare for it, and then don't worry about it. And that's the best way to handle it. So the idea of just bugging out, leaving your house at the first sign of trouble, running off into the woods to survive for God knows how long, is probably the worst idea that you can have when it comes to prepping.